Hello da Tangam, welcome to Gully Classroom. This is a special edition of Gully Dozen. Sir, what is Gully Dozen? Gully Dozen is a lecture where we will revise 12 MCQ questions, multiple choice questions, and by revising these 12 multiple choice questions, we will revise the most important points of the complete chapter. Sir, which chapter are we going to do a Gully Dozen right now? We are going to do a Gully Dozen on History Chapter 1, Rise of Nationalism in Europe. Also, a kind reminder, if you want the Tamil version of this lecture, it is available in the playlist for this particular chapter, Rise of Nationalism in Europe. Let me repeat myself, there is a Tamil version of this same lecture in the playlist. If you want to listen to the Tamil lecture, you can check it out. Okay, Tangam. Can we go for the Gully Dozen? In fact, this is the second Gully Dozen in the chapter Rise of Nationalism in Europe. We have already looked at 12 MCQs. This is the second set of MCQs. Yeah, can we start the Gully Dozen? Yes, sir. Please do start. What is the first question? Sir, before going for the first question, how am I supposed to do this Gully Dozen in a perfect manner? If you want to do this Gully Dozen in a perfect manner, in the description I have given all the 12 questions. Go through those questions, answer them, then check out the answers from my video, compare yourself, and then try to analyze where you are. We can study that particular portion. That is the exactly right way to do a Gully Dozen. Okay, let me start the idea of Gully Dozen. First question, analyze the information given below and select one of the following as the correct option. Okay, let us read the very short passage given there. While it is easy enough to represent a ruler through a portrait or a statue, how does one go about giving face to a nation? Artists in the 18th and the 19th centuries found a way out by personifying a nation. They are giving a structure to the nation. They are giving a personification to the nation. In fact, it is called as allegory. In other words, they represent a country as if it was a person. So, what is this called as? This is called as option C, personification of a nation. Okay, sir. Sir, kindly give us a couple of examples where you are personifying a nation. Okay, with respect to France, you are personifying France as Marianne. Yeah. So, with respect to Marianne, they are erecting statues of Marianne in France, in towns, in parks, in road crossings. They are putting the image of Marianne on stamps, on coins, and they are promoting the idea of nationalism. What about in Germany, sir? In Germany, nationalism is personified as Germania. In fact, the idea of Germania is given as a very good image. The different elements of this image represents different things. The different elements of this image Germania represents different things. Sir, kindly do tell what are the different elements that represent different things. The first thing is rays of rising sun. Germania has rays of rising sun behind her. It represents beginning of a new era. She is wearing a crown of oak leaves. It is representing heroism. She is wearing a breastplate with an eagle on it. It is the symbol of the German Empire and represents strength. What next, sir? Doesn't she have a sword? Yes, sir. The sword gives the readiness to fight. Also, doesn't she have an olive branch around that sword? Yes, sir. That olive branch represents willingness to make peace even though she has a sword and she is ready to fight. Okay, sir. What next? She has broken chains lying around her. That represents being freed. That represents being freed and freedom. So, this particular picture of Germania is representing so many different things to the German people. It is inspiring them to feel for the nation. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Let us go for the second question. Which of the following signifies the symbol broken chain. Didn't I just tell you? Look at the picture of Germania. Broken chains signify freedom. So for the second question, option is D. For the second question, option is D, freedom. Okay, sir. Let us go for the third question. Choose the incorrect option from the column A and B. Kindly look at the question carefully. They are not asking for the correct answer. They are asking for the incorrect answer. Okay, let us check the first one. Napoleon Bonaparte in column A is matched with the civil code in column B. Yes, in fact, in 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte instituted civil code. Okay, sir. What is Napoleon's civil code of 1804? Napoleon gave 3 main laws. Sir, kindly recall those laws for me. Absolutely. Privileges based on birth were abolished. So, the son of the king need not always be a king. The son of a beggar need not always be a beggar. Privileges based on birth were abolished. Equality before law was guaranteed. Everybody is equal before the eyes of the law. Right to property was secured. So if you are earning something, it is in fact yours. Nobody can take it away from you. Right to property was secured. These are the 3 important points that you need to remember with respect to Civil Code of 1804 that was instituted by Napoleon Bonaparte. Privileges based on birth were abolished. Equality before law was guaranteed. Right to property was secured. So the first thing is correctly matched. What about the next thing, sir? Duke Metternich, Congress of Vienna. Okay, Congress of Vienna is taking place in 1815. After defeating Napoleon, all the conservative regimes are gathering in Vienna in order to discuss what to do with the land, with the resources that they acquired from Napoleon after defeating him. So this constituted a Treaty of Vienna. Okay, what were the countries that participated in Treaty of Vienna, sir? You can remember the countries that participated in Treaty of Vienna as BRPA, Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria. Sir, I always find it very hard to understand what actually happened in France. Can you please put a timeline over here? Taking a couple of minutes, kindly help me to understand what actually happened in France. Okay, Kanna, let me do this. I am going to put a timeline over here on what really happened in France. What really happened in France. Yeah, let us do this. First, in 1789, July 14, what is happening? In 1789, July 14, storming of the Bastille is happening. Storming of Bastille. This is basically the starting of French Revolution. You will study this in 9th standard. This particular point is not really present in the 10th book. Okay, sir. But anyway, this is an important date. 1789, July 14, storming of the Bastille is happening. Before this, who is ruling France? Before 1789, July 14, there is this emperor. What is his name? His name is Louis XVI. His name is Louis XVI. Louis XVI is the last emperor of France, and due to a lot of reasons, people are storming. They are rising up in revolution against Louis XVI, and they are storming the Bastille, the fort at Bastille. They are storming the fort at Bastille. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So once the French Revolution has started, what is happening? The people are not able to institute a democracy. In this situation, around the year 1797, who is taking over the reins of the French nation? Around the year 1797, rise of Napoleon. Who is coming up? Rise of Napoleon. So what is Napoleon doing? Napoleon is a warmonger. Napoleon is fighting with a lot of neighboring countries and occupying them. He is instituting the 1804 Civil Code. I just recalled the idea of Civil Code. He is instituting 1804 Civil Code. So, in this period, who is controlling France? Napoleon is controlling France. Okay, sir. What next is happening? Napoleon is defeated in the year 1815, and once Napoleon is defeated at the Battle of Waterloo. Where is Napoleon finally defeated? At the Battle of Waterloo in the year 1815. What is happening? The countries which defeated Napoleon, BRPA, Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria, are coming together and analyzing what to do with the territories that were captured by Napoleon. So what did they do? These fellows, they joined together. They were led by Duke Metternich. He was an Austrian Chancellor. Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich is leading the Congress of Vienna. What is happening? Congress of Vienna is happening. And the Congress of Vienna, they are signing the Treaty of Vienna. According to the Treaty of Vienna, the 39 states of Germany were left just like that. They undid most of the changes did by Napoleon. The Treaty of Vienna undid or reversed most of the changes did by Napoleon. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. What happened in France next? These conservative regimes, BRPA, what are they called as? Britain, Russian, Prussian and Austrian. They are called as conservative regimes. These conservative regimes, what are they doing? They are reinstituting the Bourbon Empire. Louis XVI is a part of a Bourbon Empire. What is Bourbon Empire? They are literally a family. Bourbon means it is the name of a ruling class family. Louis XVI was killed with the guillotine. He belonged to Bourbon Empire. So here in 1815, with respect to the Treaty of Vienna, conservative regimes are bringing back the Bourbon Empire. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now what is happening? Once more, France is being mismanaged. In 1830, a revolution is happening. It is very, very significant. This revolution is called as July Revolution. This revolution is called as July Revolution. What is the significance of this revolution? With respect to July Revolution, the Bourbon Empire was sent away and a constitutional monarchy was declared. What are they declaring? They are declaring a constitutional monarchy. Sir, what is a constitutional monarchy? It is a monarchy. There will be a king, but he will be controlled by a constitution. Okay, sir. So, who did they institute as a king? They instituted Louis Philippe as a king. They instituted Louis Philippe as a king. Who is Louis Philippe? Louis Philippe is a distant relative of Louis XVI. Louis Philippe is a distant relative of Louis XVI. Okay, but once more, things are being mismanaged and there is no peace. In fact, from the year 1830 to the year 1848, France is suffering. There is poverty everywhere. There is unemployment everywhere. People are rushing from the villages to the cities for jobs. In the cities, there are no jobs. People are begging. Starvation is happening. This is happening between 1830 to 1848. So finally, in the 1848 February, once more, France is being declared as a republic. France did not want to no longer be under the control of any monarchy. Even if it is a constitutional monarchy, they wanted to rule for themselves. The people of France wanted the power to rule themselves for their representative itself. They need not want a king ruling them. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. That is very fine. So, in 1848, France is completely becoming a republic. once France becomes a republic, what are they doing? They are giving job opportunities for all adult males above the age of 21. They are also allowing people to vote. Also, they wanted people to participate in the democracy. This is simply a very short version of what happened in France after its revolution. So in 1789 revolution is happening, French Revolution, storming of the Bastille. So in around 1797, in fact in 1797 Napoleon will start his invasion of Italy. In 1797, Napoleon will start his invasion of Italy. So, from around this period to this period, France, under the control of Napoleon, is becoming an aggressive military nation, and it is capturing other places. After Napoleon is defeated by the four nations, Britain, Russian, Prussian, Austria, what is happening? These conservative regimes in the Congress of Vienna, under the guidance of Duke Metternich, Chancellor of Austria, they are doing the Treaty of Vienna. The Treaty of Vienna is undoing most of the changes did by Napoleon. They are reinstituting Bourbon Empire. They are reinstituting Bourbon Empire in 1830. What is happening? There is poverty everywhere. So people are rising up against the Bourbon Empire and they are chasing away those emperors. They are doing July Revolution. They are instituting a constitutional monarchy under Louis Philippe, but that is also a failure. In 1848, France is becoming a complete republic. In 1830, July Revolution is happening. This is playing a very important role in the context of the entire European social situation. How, sir? Because all the other European countries are looking up at France. They have just overthrown monarchy. Every nation wanted to do the same. They wanted to throw away monarchy and go to democracy, just like France did. Are you able to understand this? Yes, sir. Kindly get back to this particular questions. Okay, let us look at the third one. Option B, Duke Metternich, Congress of Vienna. Yes, that is correct. I just told you about Congress of Vienna and Duke Metternich. It happened in the year 1815. What next? Louis XVI, German Revolution. Okay, Louis XVI is the last king of France. Last complete king of France. He had nothing to do with German Revolution. So, the incorrect option right now is C. Let us also check the option D. Karl Welcker in Frankfurt Parliament. Yes, Karl Welcker in Frankfurt Parliament played a very important role in the liberal revolution of Germany. Played a very important role in liberal revolution of Germany. Let me repeat myself. Karl Welcker in Frankfurt Parliament, where, sir, in St. Paul's Church Parliament will be happening. Karl Welcker played a very important role. Sir, can you kindly expand on it? I will expand on it, but give me a couple of minutes. Okay, sir. Let us go for fourth question. Study the following picture and answer. Okay, what is the picture they are showing us? They are showing us Napoleon Bonaparte. This picture is in fact called as Courier of Rhineland. Napoleon Bonaparte is returning from war after losing a lot of territories in the Battle of Leipzig in the year 1813. The letters that are falling out of his bag represents the territories that he has lost in the Battle of Leipzig. Okay, sir. So, the answer for the fourth question is option B, Napoleon Bonaparte. What is the answer for the fifth question? The event that mobilized the nationalist feelings among the educated elite across Europe in 1830. Sir, just now you told that the July Revolution that happened in France in the year 1830 became an inspiration for people all over Europe. Yes, absolutely. Let us check the answers. The event that mobilized nationalist feeling among the educated elite across Europe in 1830 to 1848 was It is option D, July Revolution. It is option D, July Revolution. That is fine. That is fine. What next, sir? Let us look at the sixth question. With respect to the sixth question, what have they given? Arrange the following in the correct sequence. Let us study everything. Napoleon invades Italy in the year 1797. Sir, how, sir? Just here I told you, the rise of Napoleon started with the invasion of Italy in the year 1797. Okay, in the year 1797. Okay, so for the first one, Napoleon invades Italy in the year 1797. That is fine. What about the second one? When is unification of Germany happening? Okay, what is the third one? When is unification of Italy happening? And finally, what is the fourth one? When is the Greek struggle for independence is beginning? In order to understand this particular question, because we need to arrange all these four options in the correct sequence. In order to understand them, let me here do a very fast recollection of unification of Germany and unification of Italy. Let me do a very fast recollection of unification of Germany and unification of Italy. Okay, sir. Let us do Germany over here. Let us do Italy over here. Okay, I am going to start with Germany. Germany in the year 1848, May 18, what is happening? 1848, France is becoming a republic. Once German people saw that France became a republic, they became very, very inspired. What are they doing? Around 831 of the people's representatives are marching in a festive manner. Where, sir? They are going to St. Paul's Church. They are going to St. Paul's Church. Okay, sir. Where is St. Paul's Church present? It is present in Frankfurt. They are going there and asking the king to give them constitutional monarchy. They are telling that just now France has become a republic. You need not even declare as a republic, but first kindly give us constitutional monarchy. Sir, they are asking to which king? They are asking this to Friedrich Wilhelm. What is the name of the king that they are asking to? They are asking to Fried, Friedrich Wilhelm. Okay, sir. Is Friedrich Wilhelm accepting this? Friedrich Wilhelm 4. Friedrich Wilhelm 4. Friedrich Wilhelm is not accepting this. He is joining with the other monarchs and Junkers, the large landowners, and opposing these 831 people's representatives. This is disappointing entire German population. The idea of democracy has been eroded. Okay, sir. This is happening in 1848. What is happening next? Right. Then unification of Germany is done by a chief minister of Germany called as Bismarck. He was called as Iron Chancellor. His policy is called as Blood and Iron policy. Sir, what is Blood and Iron policy? Blood and Iron policy means any type of measure, irrelevant of whether it is good or bad, can be taken for the final output, which is unification of the nation. It is simply an idea where the end result justifies the means. It is an idea where the end result justifies the means. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now, what is Bismarck doing? Bismarck is invading 3 countries. In 1864, Bismarck is invading Denmark. Then he is invading Austria. Then he is invading France. Sir, how am I supposed to remember this? You can simply remember this as DAF. First, Bismarck. Bismarck is a Prussian minister. Bismarck is a Prussian minister. Prussia is a very, very dominant German speaking country, and Prussia is responsible for the unification of Germany. Germany was spoken in, the German language was spoken in a lot of states, but the Prussian minister Bismarck, what did he do? First, he made an alliance with Austria and invaded Denmark. Okay, sir. Then what did he do? Then he made an alliance with Austria and invaded Denmark. After fighting with Denmark, he turned around. Then Prussia betrayed Austria and they invaded Austria also. So Denmark was also defeated. Austria was also defeated. Finally, in 1870, what did Bismarck do? Bismarck united the northern and southern Germany into one by using German hatred against France and invaded France So in 3 wars, how many wars did Bismarck fight? In 3 wars spanning 7 years. What happened? Germany was united. Okay, sir. When Germany was united, let me repeat myself, where did German emperor was given the title of the king? In January 1871. In January 1871. Let me write it in red. In January 1871. What happened? The Prussian king, Kaiser William I. Let me repeat. The one who refused the liberals any rights were the King Friedrich Wilhelm. It is not William, it is Wilhelm IV. But the one who gave the German people, the one who united the German people, obviously it was done under the Prussian king, a different king than Friedrich Wilhelm IV. He was called as Kaiser William I. He was called as Kaiser William I. So under Kaiser William I, Germany was united and Kaiser William I was declared as the King of United Germany in the Hall of Mirrors in the Palace of Versailles. So essentially in 1871, unification of Germany ended. Unification of Germany started in the year 1864, ended in the year 1871. Let me note it down. Unification of Germany started in the year 1864. It ended in the year 1871. This is basically the very short recollection of unification of Germany. Okay, sir. What about the next one? Unification of Italy. Unification of Italy actually started in the year 1833 and ended in the year 1861. Sir, kindly give the entire idea. In 1833, Giuseppe Garibaldi and Giuseppe Mazzini are meeting for the first time. In fact, Giuseppe Mazzini is forming his secret society that is going to be called as Young Italy. Young Italy, the secret society wanted to unify Italy. In fact, Mazzini is a very great revolutionary. He has said a lot of very good things about joining all the Italian speaking states into a framework of an Italian nation. Mazzini even told that God intended man to live under a nation. In fact, Duke Metternich, which Duke, sir? The Duke Metternich, who hosted the Congress of Vienna in the year 1815, called Mazzini, what did he call, sir? The enemy of our social order. Because Mazzini wanted to do away with the entire system of monarchy. He wanted a complete democracy. Okay, sir. So, Mazzini, he seems to be a philosopher. Who was the student of this philosopher? Garibaldi. Garibaldi is in fact a sailor. He belongs to a sailing family. Garibaldi is a student of Mazzini. So, Mazzini is giving his ideas to Garibaldi and meeting him in the year 1833. So, 1833, what are they doing? Around this time, they are trying to do an uprising in Piedmont, Sardinia, Piedmont. Sir, what is the significance of Sardinia Piedmont. There were a lot of Italian states, but let me repeat myself. There were a lot of Italian states, but one and only Sardinia Piedmont was the Italian state that was controlled by an Italian prince. All the others were controlled by different rulers. How, sir? In fact, Italy can be broken into three parts. The northern part of Italy. The northern part of Italy is controlled by. The northern part of Italy is controlled by Austrian Habsburg. They were controlled by Austrian Habsburg. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. How was the middle part of Italy controlled? The middle part of Italy was controlled by the Vatican. How was the southern part of Italy controlled? The southern part of Italy was controlled by Bourbon kings of Spain. Bourbon kings of Spain. So Italy itself was broken into three parts. Only Sardinia Piedmont was controlled by an Italian prince, Italian king, and in this Piedmont uprising, Garibaldi and Mazzini tried to take over from him, and they failed. Okay, sir. What happened next? Unification of Italy was led by this fellow called as Count Cavour. He was the one who started the unification of Italy. How, sir? Count Cavour is a Sardinia Piedmont minister. He wanted to unite Italy under the name of his king. What did he do? He constructed an alliance with France. When he constructed an alliance with France, now France is helping them against Austria. France is helping them on fighting against Austria. So, with the help of France, Count Cavour is fighting Austria. And defeating it. So, look here, in the north, there is Austria. Count Cavour, with the help of France, Sardinia Piedmont, it is defeating the Austrian Habsburgs from the north. Okay, now what is happening? The Count Cavour has already occupied the northern part. Sir, in which year is this happening? This is happening in the year 1859. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now, from the south, who is coming? There is this fellow, the student of Mazzini, Garibaldi. What is he doing? Garibaldi is going to the south and convincing the farmers to follow his lead. These farmers were inspired by Garibaldi and they joined with him to fight against the Bourbon emperors of Spain who were controlling the southern part of Italy. These followers of Garibaldi were called as red shirts because obviously they wore red shirts, and also they marched in thousands. So they were also called as thousands. Just with the help of the common peasants, Garibaldi pushed the Bourbon of Spain out of the south. So Garibaldi is coming from the south. Garibaldi is coming from the south. Only Vatican was not in the control of the king of Sardinia Piedmont. Now what is happening? Who is winning? Is Garibaldi from south winning, or is Count Cavour with the help of France from the north winning? Who will win means France will win. Here France will win. So unification of Italy will be completed. Unification of Italy will be completed. Sir, in which year did Garibaldi come from the south? Garibaldi came from the south in the year 1861. So that is why the 1861 is taken as more or less the end of Italian unification. More or less the end of Italian unification. Another 5 to 6 years will happen before Vatican comes under the control of Italy. Vatican comes under the control of United Italy. But still 1861 is considered as the time period, the end of unification of Italy. Because why, sir? Because in the year 1861, King Victor Emmanuel II, which king? King Victor Emmanuel, King Victor Emmanuel II. What did King Victor Emmanuel II do? King Victor Emmanuel II, he was declared as the king of the entire Italian region. He was declared as the king of entire Italian region. Okay, sir. So I am understanding these three time segments. What is the next one? The next one is Greek struggle for independence begins in the year 1821. Okay, I need to arrange all these four in the numerically right order. Let me arrange it. First, it will be option 1. Am I right? First, it will be option 1 because it is 1797. What next? Next, it will be 1821. Next, it will be 1821 because that is the obviously next thing. What next? Then it will be German unification. No, it will be Italian unification. So the next option is the third option. The next option is the third option. Finally, I will have my option 3. 1, 4, 3. I think I am making a mistake. Finally, I will have the option 2. Finally, I will have my option 2. So 1, 4, 3, 2. 1, 4, 3, 2. So for the sixth question, 1, 4, 3, 2 means option B. Option B. Yeah. Are you comfortable with how I did the entire thing? Yeah. I know I took a couple of minutes in order to explain the timeline of what happened in France, the unification of Germany and unification of Italy. I did this because usually I find that students are struggling in this particular part. Okay, sir. Kindly continue for the next question. Okay. Read the passage given below and answer the following. Read the passage given below and answer the following. Okay. During the 1830s, Giuseppe Mazzini, what is Giuseppe Mazzini doing? During the 1830s, Giuseppe Mazzini had sought to put together a coherent program for the United Italian Republic. He had also formed a secret society called Young Italy for the dissemination of his goals. The failure of the revolutionary uprising in both the years 1831 and 1848 meant that the mantle now fell on Sardinia Piedmont under the ruler Victor Emmanuel II to unify the Italian states through war. In the eyes of the ruling elites of the region, a unified Italy, what will it do? A unified Italy offered them the possibility of economic development and dominance. Chief Minister Cavour, who led the movement to unify the regions of the Italy, was neither a revolutionary nor a democrat. Like many of the other wealthy educated members of the Italian elite, he spoke French better than he did Italian. Through a tactful diplomatic alliance with France, he engineered by Cavour, Sardinia Piedmont succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces. Sardinia Piedmont succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces. Apart from the regular troops, a large number of armed volunteers under the leadership of Giuseppe Garibaldi joined the fray. In 1860, they marched in the South Italy and the Kingdom of Two Sicilies and succeeded in winning the support of the local peasants in order to drive out the Spanish rulers. In 1861, Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed as the King of United Italy. However, much of the Italian population among whom the rates of illiteracy were very, very high. What was very, very high? Illiteracy. A lot of Italian population did not study. They remained blissfully unaware of the liberal nationalist ideology. The peasant masses who supported Garibaldi in southern Italy had never heard of Italia, and they believed that La Thalia was in fact Victor Emmanuel's wife. La Thalia was in fact Victor Emmanuel's wife. La Thalia was in fact Victor Emmanuel's wife. Okay, sir. That is fine. Let us go for the seventh question that is being asked from this particular passage. Absolutely, Tangam. Who formed a secret society called Young Italy? Option A, Garibaldi. Am I getting this right? No, not Garibaldi. Giuseppe Mazzini. The teacher was the one who formed the society. The teacher is Mazzini. Garibaldi, Giuseppe Garibaldi was the student who learnt about everything from Mazzini. So Mazzini was the one who formed the Young Italy Secret Society. What about the 8th question? Who led the movement to unify the regions of Italy? Who started the unification? It was started by Count Cavour, who created, engineered an alliance with France and defeated Austria. Yeah. So 8th question is option C. Chief Minister Cavour, Count Cavour. What is the 9th question? According to the extract, what was the reason for the large part of the Italian population remaining unaware of the liberal ideology? Because they were illiterate, they did not study, so they remained unaware of the liberal ideology. Okay, what about the 10th question? Analyze other freedom fighter of Italy by considering one of the following correct options. Okay, let us consider these options. Before that, first study the small passage. He was perhaps the most celebrated Italian freedom fighters. He came from a family engaged in coastal trade and was a sailor in merchant navy. Sir, you just told that Garibaldi used to be a sailor. So maybe Garibaldi, in 1833 he met Mazzini. In 1833 who is meeting Mazzini? Who is becoming the student of Mazzini? Garibaldi. So obviously the answer is D. Garibaldi. In 1833 he met Mazzini, joined the Young Italy movement and participated in the Republican uprising in Piedmont 1834. Okay sir, okay sir. Let us go for the 11th question. Match the following items given in column A with those in column B and then choose the correct answer from the options given below. Okay, let us do this. First option is Giuseppe Mazzini. Giuseppe Mazzini obviously formed Young Italy in the year 1833. So 1 is D. So option 1 is D. What next is sir? Otto von Bismarck. He was the Iron Chancellor who used iron and blood policy to unify Germany. Unification of Germany. Option is A. So for the second one, option is A. What about the third one, sir? Let us look at the third one. Third one is Napoleon Bonaparte. Battle of Waterloo. Napoleon Bonaparte was defeated at the Battle of Waterloo. So for the third one, answer is simply C. What is the fourth one? Count Cavour. Unification of Italy. So option is B. This is given as option C. This is given below as option C. What about the 12th question? Identify the correct statement with regard to the Act of Union 1707 from the following options. What is Act of Union? What is Act of Union? Act of Union is a policy that was passed in the British Parliament, and because of this policy that was passed in the British Parliament, what is happening? Because of this policy, Scotland and Britain are united. Act of Union of 1707 is uniting Scotland and Britain. Is uniting Scotland and Britain. Is uniting Scotland and Britain. So sir, you have already taught about unification of Germany and Italy in this lecture. Why don't we do a very short recollection of also unification of Britain? Okay, Kana, let us do a very short recollection of unification of Britain. Britain contains 4 parts. What are the 4 parts of Britain? Great Britain, the main part of it that contains London. Great Britain, the main part of it that contains London. Then you have Scotland. Okay sir, what next? Then you have Ireland. Then you have Wales. We are not going to study how Wales was united with these 3. Why sir? Because it is not given in our syllabus. Okay, let us start with how Great Britain and Scotland were united. In 1707, Act of Union was passed. By Act of Union, what is happening? Great Britain and Scotland were united. The Great Britain's Parliament imposed their rules and regulations on Scotland. The British Parliament was dominated by the British members. The British Parliament was controlled by the English members. Scotland did not have any rights. The Scotland's cultural and political institutions were systematically suppressed. Even a lot of Scots were driven away forcibly from their homelands. Their Gaelic language was banned. Their national dress was banned. The Scots were literally hunted down and their culture was stamped out. Their culture was stamped out. So, by the Act of Union, in the year 1807, what is happening? They are forming the United Kingdom of Great Britain. When they are combining, what are they combining? When they are combining Great Britain and Scotland, what are they calling it as? They are calling it as United Kingdom of Britain. That is why even today, the Britain, England is also called as United Kingdom. Why? Because United Kingdom of Britain was the name that was given when Great Britain and Scotland were combined in the year 1807 by the Act of the Union. This is parliamentary process. This did not really involve any wars. This was a parliamentary process. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now what is happening? Ireland had two parts. What are the two parts of Ireland? What are the two types of people in Ireland? There were Catholics. Okay, sir. What next? There were Protestants. Okay. What next? Catholics were in majority. Catholics were in majority. Protestants were in minority. Protestants were in minority. Catholics were in majority. Protestants were in minority. Okay. Britain is supporting whom? Britain is supporting the minority Protestants and suppressing the Catholics, and because of this a lot of wars are happening. In fact, those particular wars are called as troubles. What next, sir? Even there is this freedom fighter called as Wolfe Tone, who of the Catholics, who is fighting against the British, but in the year 1798, Ireland is combining with Great Britain and Scotland in order to form once more United Kingdom of Britain. In the year 1798, Ireland is joining with Britain and Scotland in United Kingdom of Great Britain. They are supporting the flag which is called as Union Jack. What is this flag called as? Union Jack. Their national anthem is God Save Our Noble King. They are promoting English as the standard language. This is basically the unification of Britain. Now let us look at the 12th question. Identify the correct statement with regard to the Act of Union 1707. Then the right answer is option C, the formation of United Kingdom of Great Britain. The Act of Union 1707 literally is nothing but the first formation of United Kingdom of Great Britain. It is the combining of Great Britain and Scotland. Later it will combine with Ireland. That will happen in the year 1798. Yeah, are you comfortable with how I did the entire unification? Yeah, I know this is a slightly long lecture, but I wanted to do a lecture where all the unifications, Germany unification, Italy unification and Britain unification can be studied in a wholesome manner along with the good questions that were asked in the previous years. Along with some good questions that were asked in the previous years. Hope you guys enjoyed this lecture. Obviously, if you like our channel, subscribe to our channel, recommend our channel to your friends, promote our channel in the social media, because we are going to have so much fun learning history, geography, political science, economics, physics, chemistry, biology, maths right here at Gully Classroom with me, Muthukumar, and have in-depth learning with so much fun. Cheers and thank you. See you guys in the next lecture.